Hi everyone, just wanting to check in. It's been a couple of days now, a few days since I last filmed an update, and as you can hear, I am sick. I have a bad cold. Currently at my sister's, and Cleo's really happy. Obviously, you know from previous vlogs, Cleo's been here a few times before, so she's quite, she sort of makes herself very much at home. Let me pop you here. Just move it across a little bit. There we go. For a minute I thought that was the visas, but I kind of knew it wouldn't, because I checked the status of the visas just today, and the section that says in process is now green, which means that that bit's completed. So the next step will be sending our passports back to us, hopefully with the visas inside the passports, and we won't find out till we receive them. What else has happened? A lot's happened this week that's admin based, so stuff that I've been able to work on since I arrived. We did the currency transfer because the euro had dipped a great deal, which meant the pound was performing really well. Rates can go down, but they can also continue to climb, and you're talking sometimes a couple of £100 worth of difference, or a couple of thousand. It can make a really big difference. But what's good with Lumon is you can tie into a rate, a trade, and then you get 3 working days to transfer the sterling to them, and you can still benefit from that fixed rate. So we decided to stick on Friday. We were quite happy with the rate. Leon did the transfer Monday morning, and it's already in euros, and they hold it for you. And then Lumon actually do the transfer from them to the notaire directly, so you don't have to worry about that. That's done on your behalf. And then any money left over can then be transferred into a bank account, which can't be set up until we arrive because we need a French address. So it's really good. Everything's shaping up nicely, so everything's going well. I'm just gutted I'm poorly. When we get our visas, I'll be sure to do a check-in to do the big reveal, and hopefully it's not tears, or if it is tears, it's just happy tears. Do you like that? Good boy, Mimi. Look at that lovely little tail. Oh. It is July 22nd today, and so it's a Monday, July 22nd. We got our passports back, and we've been refused our visas. So that was a shock for us. We were not expecting that, because that's literally worst case scenario. Me and my sisters, we were sort of chatting and brainstorming, and it's difficult because the visa refusal letter is not very in-depth. It just says you've been refused because the evidence submitted to do with the reason for your stay and the purpose, etc., was insufficient. So you've got two options basically. You can appeal the decision, which can be a lengthy process because it involves sometimes sort of waiting around for 2 weeks for a response that you may not get, or you can go with option 2, which is I think what we're going to end up doing, which is just reapply. Only this time, of course, we're going to have to think what will we need to change. So in our brainstorming, we decided that it was likely to be something that's a common denominator between the two of us. And the thing that we circled back to was our property. When we submitted the visas, of course, we hadn't completed our house sale. So, I mean, let's face it, English house sales are very much a hypothetical until the day you complete. When we submitted our visas, We couldn't really evidence with any real certainty that we had a buyer and the whole thing was going to go through as planned. For the French consulate, they're looking at it and thinking, well, they haven't sold the house yet. They don't have any money. This whole thing is just a very hypothetical, subject to scenario. We're now in a better position because we can evidence the funds from the sale of our English property. But it's been a hard morning. I cried. Cried quite a lot, actually. And also with Leon and I not being together in the same place, it's not easy. 3 weeks today we should be sailing from Plymouth. That was the plan. I'm actually going to resubmit the visa application this evening. Get another appointment at Edinburgh, hopefully on Friday. Leon's going to drive up once he's finished with his work on Thursday and do it. As up to now it's been, we'll get it, it'll be fine. It'll be good, it'll be fine. Well, wishful thinking doesn't give you results. That's not a thing. You can't just hope for the best and get the best every time. It helps to have positive thinking. But I think the most important thing now is sort of deciding what we want to do next. Do we go ahead and purchase the French house? We have no rights to work there or live there for any longer than 3 months. There's no guarantees. Now, to back out, we would owe the sellers a significant amount of money. France is still where we want to be, therefore backing out of this sale and spending, 5 figures just to settle a breach of contract will just leave us with less funds, and we'll still need to buy somewhere eventually. So I think, all things considered, it doesn't make sense to just back out now. My friend is going to call in a couple of hours and we're going to go back through the visa and resubmit it. Feel good to do that, and then aim to book an appointment for Friday. I'm trying to sort this visa thing out.
I'm starving. Me too. I hope she has food. The key to entertaining on a boat is having good food.
Hi, me.
It was the last weekend of the summer in the Hamptons, and I decided to do something special. Going on a yacht today.
Ah. Good morning. It's Tuesday, the day after our passports came back without our visas. I had a little parcel arrive. I cheered myself up. I actually needed some new shampoo. So I'm going to try some Kerastase shampoo. He has been a nightmare this morning, all over my laptop. I'm trying to sort out applying for our visas, etc. Remy, get off. But it's not as easy as it sounds. With TLS, once you've submitted your visa application to them, they have your passport number on record, so you can't resubmit anything because it'll say you already have an active application with this passport number. So I called them this morning to ask how we go about starting a new application. Can they delete the old one so we can start anew? And basically they can't do anything their end. We just have to wait for it to naturally expire, which can take a few days. So that's disappointing because it's looking more likely now that we won't be getting a new appointment until next week. And I've been on forums all morning trying to sort of get any advice on what people think may have gone wrong. Still going to have to just reapply a bit blind, but it is what it is. Can't change that. I have reached out to an immigration specialist called Lexity Law, and they specialise in French immigration. So I thought I may as well reach out to them, even if it costs us a couple of £100. It'll be worth just getting their advice to make sure that we do it properly this time. I might meet my nephews this afternoon and have a wander. There's a really nice estate near here called Temple Newsham. It's nice to get out of the house. I imagined I'd be form filling all day, but until that old application expires, I can't do anything really. So yes, that's the plan. So I'm going to get ready, try out my new shampoo. It's the little things in life, and go out, I think. Just getting some dinner for later. hit M&S again, because why not? Not much really has happened today other than heading to Temple Newsham with the boys, which was good fun. Haven't heard back from anyone I contacted, which is disappointing, because one of those people was an immigration specialist, so that would have been really good to get his or her advice on our situation, but never mind, I'll try again tomorrow. Had lots of conflicting information come through on the forums. If I'm honest, forums are good, but they're very confusing. Not always a good shout going on there, because you sometimes leave more confused than you were when you went in. So yes, M&S food. I'm on cooking duty today. Back together. So we've come out for the day to Harrogate, and we've just been in Betty's. My second time this week. So what did you get?
Fat rascal.
And I got a fondant fancy.
Gotta say it in Yorkshire.
Fondant fancy?
I got a fat rascal.
You cannot beat a Betty's fat rascal. Actually, this isn't a fat rascal, this is a fondant fancy.
You're a fat rascal.
It's got the sponge, buttercream, jam, and then white chocolate on the base, and then fondant icing. Oh, it's just the best. I don't know if you can eat that dry. I always feel like I need butter on my fat rascal.
Yeah, well, you're indulgent.
So, by way of an update, so yesterday we made a decision to hire an immigration lawyer, basically a specialist, to take over the process for us, because there were just way too many steps that I skipped that I didn't know about, and it's just made me lose my confidence, and I just don't feel like I want to go down this road again on my own and risk having to get that letter a second time.
Every mistake takes time.
So we're using Lexity Law, which is a European company, and they specialise in all things legal for, well, for anyone I suppose, but I guess their primary clientele would be probably people moving from outside of the EU into the EU, if they're setting up a business abroad, or they're buying a house, or they need visas, and that's what they do. So it is expensive, but we've talked about it, haven't we? And it's more of like a time versus money type thing. Do we want to spend the time and the energy and have that disappointment? I mean, that was such a bitter pill to
you've spent
swallow.
about 2 months researching, and you can't actually find out for definite what you need, but this company has the resources to give you, and they tell you exactly what you needed and exactly what you have to do. So they know it, because they've got access to all this stuff, and we both feel at ease now that it's being handled and we're going to be guided.
It's hard because it's nice to do things on your own, you save money, but actually up to now it's been an expensive process, and we've been unsuccessful, and you don't get any of that back. Any of the, you know,
well, when you're thinking about
admin fees and everything else, that's gone. So we both feel better about it. It doesn't mean that our work is finished, because all they're going to do is sort of help us they will give us the list of the documentation we need and provide us with templates for the business plans. You have to submit your business plans to an exterior authority before they're submitted to the consulate.
Yeah, this is because we're self-employed.
Didn't know that. Yeah, it depends on what sort of visa you're after too. But I would recommend even the 15-minute consultation with Lexity, which was entirely free. I found out loads, and it just made me realise I need help. I can't do it by myself. We can't do it by ourselves. But then they double check everything before it gets sent anywhere, and that's the bit that I desperately need, is sort of that insurance of knowing that it's been checked by someone else and I'm not just relying on myself. So what we've decided to do is stick with our plan. So we are still going to be leaving France for France in 2 weeks' time, but we're just going to be going on our 90-day allowance, which everyone gets. When they come into the EU, you get 90 days, you don't need any paperwork for that. And within that 90 days, we are going to begin the process of, well, we're going to begin the process next week, actually.
Yeah.
We've got to submit our business plans
So they've given us a timeline that all fits in within the 90 days.
So within 3 months, we'll have to double back to the UK for the interview that we've already done. It wasn't an interview, just dropped the paperwork off on our passports,
And
and
then
then
we
we'll
can fly
have
to Edinburgh.
we'll have to stay in the UK for 2 weeks until we get our passports returned with the visa this time. We've decided we're just going to maximise our time and get the house sorted and get ourselves settled. It's actually quite nice because it means we don't have, there's
We can
nothing else
work on our
crowding
business
out our
ideas.
time. We've got a plan. It's taught me a lot.
There's
though.
so much at
Just to
stake, but it's worth doing.
Yeah, just
I
have
don't
to
want to
stay
pull out now.
positive. Stay positive and
No.
rethink, regroup, and figure out a new
We're
plan.
both homeless and jobless right now.
But we're in Betty's, spending a fortune on patisseries. They taste so good. I've also had wine, which helps. I think we're going to finish up here and have a bimble or a wander, whatever phrase floats your boat. We're literally
Okay.
sat right outside Betty's. If you're in this process and you're like us and you've had a denial, don't lose hope. It's still possible. You're just going to have to regroup and rethink and get a new plan.
I think what's harder for us, I've said, is because we're buying a house. It's a special house because Sarah's dad built it. So if you were renting a property and you had savings and then you were going to go rent somewhere, there's not really any problems with delays. But because we're buying off of somebody, they want to sell at a certain time. So we've got a time frame.
2 weeks on Tuesday.
We're also both self-employed, so we've had to give up our businesses or pass them on. We've also sold our home.
At a certain point, you have to be all in or all out. There's no middle ground. So hopefully you all can learn from our experience. That's why we set up the blog. It's not been easy sharing the rough bits, but I do think it might be helpful in the long run for other people that are doing the same thing, because this I could have done with this info. So there we are. Anyway, enough chatting. We're going to enjoy the rest of our day. After 2 weeks, park